We are in academic year 2021. Yes, you are in final year ECB, and we are discussing this system design through Verilog, the basic concepts first. Okay. So, so in the previous class, we have seen the syllabus, and we have seen the different types of textbooks what we have for the subject, and also we have seen different types of objectives, and also we have seen the course outcomes. And we have seen the introduction. We have seen the introduction to the hardware description language, what a hardware description language is. And we have seen that we have different types of hardware description language, such as very high speed integrated circuits hardware description language. We simply call it as VHDL, and also the Verilog HDL, and also the system C. Okay, generally we will be using this VHDL and Verilog HDL. These are used for designing of the digital logic circuits. Now, if you go with the general introduction to the subject, we can say we are listening in the day-to-day digital gadgets or digital display or anything is of digital only. It has gone with a dramatic impact in the society. Okay, almost all the tools or almost all the machineries, all machines, even the data manipulation or signal processing or telecommunications, everything is done in digital only. Digital in the sense here, the data will be in the form of either zeros or ones. Now, if you see, mm, the digital concept, it has shown solutions to has shown solutions to many of the problems. Okay. Someone has raised the hand. Now we go for the conventional approach of digital design. See here, in the previous classes we have discussed this thing. For designing any system, we require some circuits or some which is consisting of some ICs. For an example, if you see here, if you see a simple example of getting the output for Qn plus 1 is equal to Qn plus A into B. That means A dot B. A dot B is nothing but the A and B. Here Qn, A and B are the Boolean variables. Right. Here A and B are the Boolean variables. Qn also a Boolean variable, but Q suffix n is nothing but the nth time step of Q. Nth time step of Q. So for this expression Qn plus A dot B is shown here. Here we are using AOI and gate or gate input gate, that means AND or AOI gate, one AOI gate and one flip flop we are using here. This total thing is AOI. Okay, this total thing is AOI and or in input, and OAI will also be there, or and input, and the flip flop is also there. Flip flop is to store the data, the output what we have, what we get. Okay, later that output can be used. Okay, next this thing, the circuit what we have designed, this it can be wired up. That means we can have connections and we can test and we can use it. Okay, so you just see the conventional approach to a digital design. What is it? First, what we are doing, if you are designing a very large circuit, first you are identifying what are the components, and we are identifying whether we have such components or not. If it is not there in our library, we have to design our own by our own. If they are present in the library, then use those. Okay. Just see here, first task of, if you want to design a very big circuit, first task, a very big circuit here in the sense, very big system, first we have to identify different types of components in it. We have to identify the different types of components present in it. And if you are identifying, if you have identified that components are present in our library, it is not necessary for us to design those. If not, we have to design. That is nothing but design, resort to a micro level design. That means we have to design by our own. Here you see the general accepted approach of this digital design is generally of top down approach and bottom up approach. First, what we are doing here, decide the requirements at the system level and translate them to the circuit requirements. Okay, first what we have to do is, first we have to identify the system requirements. First we have to identify the system requirements. Then we have to identify the circuit requirements. What is here system requirement? What is here circuit requirement? System requirement is nothing but we are expecting some output with the help of some inputs. Okay, that is the system level requirement. That means the expected output. Okay, then what about the circuit requirements? Circuit requirements here, to get that particular output with the help of the given inputs, we should identify the what are the components required. What are the components required for designing that particular circuit or that particular system, right? That is the next point. That is identifying the major functional blocks required, like timer. Okay, timer, not only the timer, DMA, that means direct memory access units, and register files. These are to store the data. Okay, we require some functional blocks. We have to identify what are the functional blocks required, such as timers, direct memory access units, register files, etc. as in the designing of a processor. Okay, and not only that, we also, whenever functions are required or that can be realized with the help of standard ICs, such as counters, mux, demuxes. We have some standard ICs. We can use them in different combination, and we can use for some particular functions. Do you get now? So we will be using some particular ICs, standard ICs such as counters, muxes, demuxes, or any others to realize some functions. To realize some functions by connecting those in different combinations. And whenever it is not possible, above said thing are not possible, we have to design, or else we have to go for the other concept called as using the gates, standard ICs, standard small scale integrated circuit ICs, for example gates, flip flops, etc. Okay. Okay. Or whenever it is not possible for circuit to carry out the block functions using the standard accesses, we have to go for the design by our own. We have to use the additional components such as transistors, diodes, resistors, capacitors, etc. Wherever essential. In a circuit, if you are designing a big circuit, we may use the general ICs and also the general discrete components also. Those has to be connected. If you go through your if you have if you go through the internal circuit boards of any other components, the systems such as TV system or else or computer system or any others, if you go through that, we can identify some ICs and some discrete components such as diodes, resistors, and capacitors also. Okay. You see here in the conventional approach, you can also see if what you have seen so far, you are thinking of a very big circuit or a very big system. You are identifying what you are expecting is you want some expected output. For that, first you are identifying some particular inputs. By combining those inputs, you have to get that particular output. Okay, you have to get that particular. To do that, we are identifying some circuits, and that means some components. That components has to be utilized. We are identifying different types of components such as ICs and some discrete components, some gates, some flip-flops, and some other blocks such as register files, DMAs, that is nothing but direct memory access, and all other counters also. We are identifying those and we are using them. And we are making use of some standard small scale integrated ICs also, and we are using such as MUX, DMUX, any others. And by combining those, we are getting some required functions. If these all things are happened, after completion of all these things, the paper design is ready for us. Okay, next we can, by starting with the paper design, one has to do a circuit layout. We have to start at the paper design and we have to go up to the circuit layout. And here we also has to see that the physical location of the components also, it can be tentatively decided. Okay, physical location plays a very important role in VLSI also, in VLSI, right? Why? Because the ICs, some ICs will be exhibiting high amount of temperature, or some discrete components will be it will be exhibiting some heat. If you keep some heat sensitive ICs very much near to that, that one will be malfunctioning. Okay, so you have to be very careful while deciding the location of the ICs and the components also, discrete components also, right? So this is also called as circuit on paper. The physical location of the components is tentatively decided and they are interconnected, and this is also called as circuit on paper. Once the paper design is done, the layout is carried out and the netlist will be prepared. So you have seen this thing can be carried out and it can be fabricated on PCB. PCB is nothing but printed circuit board, and the populated cards tested and debugging can be done, right? First the circuit, you have a circuit on paper and you have decided which component has to be placed where, and so you see here in the conventional approach we have shown the procedure for digital design. In the conventional approach for digital design, see here first we are identifying the system requirements. First we are identifying the system requirements. System requirements in the sense, what are the inputs and what are the output component outputs. That means identifying the functionality, that is nothing but just like a system requirement. Then the circuit requirements. To get that required output, we have to identify what are the circuit components required. These circuit requirements can be of two categories. One is other ICs, some ICs, integrated circuits. These integrated circuits are different types. That may be small scale integrated circuits or large scale integrated circuits or any other very large scale integrated circuits, which will be performing the functions or the standardized functions such as gates or the counters, mux, demuxes, or some flip-flops or any others. And some other components such as what we have discussed before, that is discrete components, such as capacitors, transistors, or some other devices. They both will be combined. Both ICs and other discrete components can be used for designing of our circuit. These things will be, after that what we are doing, we are identifying where the ICs or the components has to be placed, and we are interconnecting it on the paper, and then we will be designing, we will be forming a PCB layout, and we will be placing those components at that respective positions, and we will be connecting with the power cards or the wires, and then we will be going for wiring and testing of those, and we get the final circuit. This is the sequence of steps in conventional electronic circuit designs. Okay, when we go for this type of design, generally we used to have three types of problems. One is functional mismatch. Functional mismatch. What is this functional mismatch? If you have gone through your lab in the previous semester, what you have done? You have written your VHDL program, and then you have verified its syntax. Later you have verified its functionality. right? What does it mean? You are expecting so and so output, and you are verifying whether you are getting such type of output or not. Okay, that is nothing but the functional verification. If you verify functionality, then only you can see that whether you get the correct function or not, or if you have any functional mismatch. So you can see here, the realized and expected functions are different. If both are same, it's not an issue for us. If both are different, we have to see where the mistake has been done, and we have to rectify it, and we have to go for any other modifications and in the circuit and to get the required output. Okay, one may have to go through the relevant functional block careful and locate any error logically. Finally, the necessary correction has to be carried out in the hardware. Okay, next the other one is the timing mismatch. What is this timing mismatch? So one signal, same signal will be moving in two different paths, and it will be meeting at some particular position. And if there is signal A, and that signal A will be going within two paths such as X and Y, and at some particular point or some particular node P, it is coming there, and there may be some mismatch between the signal what it is occurred at the node, or else we can say there are two signals which has to come at a particular point. One will be coming earlier and another will be coming a little bit later with some delay. So these may cause timing mismatch. Okay, so one possibility of this timing mismatch is signals going through different propagation delays in two paths and arriving at a point with timing mismatch, and this may cause the faulty operation. Okay, another possibility is race around condition. You can see the flip-flops. Some flip-flops such as RS flip-flop, some other flip-flops will be having race around conditions also, right? When both the inputs are high in the starting stage itself, these may lead to the race around condition, which will be making the circuit to enter into a very big loop for generating the output. It will be causing more amount of time waste there. Okay, the race around in the flip, if you are using the flip flops, we may have some race around conditions which will be involving asynchronous feedback, and this kind of problems can elaborate debugging. Okay, while you are going for debugging or when you are going for verifying the functionality or compiling, it may be going into a very big loop or infinite loop, we can also say, while debugging. So generally we have to go for smaller module debuggings only generally to overcome this type of problems. And so, and we can also have another type of problem called as overload, signal overloads. So sometimes these type of overload, even generally these type of overloads will be causing a lot of delay. Even sometimes it can suppress the signal due to the overloading. Due to the overloading, the signals can be suppressed. Okay, to avoid these types of problems, what we have to do is we have to proper buffers. We have to use proper buffers to strengthen the signal. Okay. So these things, the total thing, this verification of functional mismatch or timing mismatch or overloading, these things can be identified when you, after designing of prototype PCB only, and this generally involves the cost, time, and redesign process to develop a bug-free design, right? What we are doing here, we are identifying physical components and we are making connections to those. Okay, we are making connections to those and identifying whether we are getting the proper required output or not. So instead of doing all these things physically, it's better to go for some hardware description language to verify the functionality, and whether we can get the proper functionality or not, we can verify there, and then we can go in specific and design. Okay, those are nothing but the basics actually. If at all necessary, we will be designing by that. Right now, we just have an introduction to this VLSI design. So this VLSI design, that means very large scale integrated circuits designing, is done by machines only, automated machines only. It is making these VLSI, that means very large scale integrated circuits design, which is in the order of micros. Now it is impossible to do manually. We can go up to the designing on paper, and later it has to be carried out only through the machines only. Okay, it is in the order of 10 to the power minus 6 VLSI design, means within a single IC or simple very small sized die area. In that we have to accumulate more number of transistors in the order of um, thousands and lakhs. So it is highly impossible to do manually. So design automation is the order of the day then. Okay. So with the last in the last few decades, there is a rapid development in this tools of VLSI also. So and also the ICs also. Here this technology has improved a lot in VLSI also. So which has increased the size and hence the functionality of the ICs. That means we we as of now we are using most number of gadgets with ICs only. We are having different types of functionalities. Okay, and there is a steady reduction in the feature size. What you already know that what is a feature size? Feature size is nothing but the distance between the source and the drain. That is called as feature size, generally indicated with 2 lambda. It has been reduced a lot, which has caused it to increase in the speed of the operation and also the transistor density, and also a steady improvement in the predictability of the circuit behavior. Okay, there is a good improvement in the predictability of circuit behavior also due to the latest VLSI technologies, and a steady increase in the variety and size of software tools for design VLSI designs. Okay, we have different variety of VLSI design software tools due to the improvement in the VLSI technology. So the above said developments has resulted in proliferation of approaches to VLSI designs and a procedure of automated design flow. Okay, here our main aim is to bring out the role of a hardware description language in the design process. Okay, we want to bring, or we want to see the role of hardware description language in the design process. Okay, we can see the abstraction based model in the automated design. We can see that in the next class. Just we'll go through the points what I have discussed today. So we have seen different types of, we have different types of hardware description languages. Okay, so we have seen the general impact on the society due to the invention of digital circuits, and we have seen how a conventional, what's the conventional approach for designing a digital circuit with the help of a simple equation called q suffix n plus 1 is equal to qn plus a into b. Okay, here we are using two ICs, AY and R input IC, and also a simple flip-flop. Okay, two ICs we are seeing. Okay, so conventional, we have seen the conventional approaches. First, we have to identify what are the requirements or system requirements. Then we have to go for circuit requirements, and first we have to identify what are the different types of memories we require, or what are the different types of standard ICs we require, such as simple mux, demux, and counters. And after that, we have to go for the some block functions, such as gates, flip-flops level, and then we can also use some discrete components such as transistors, diodes, resistors, capacitors, wherever necessary. We have to identify those components. Then we have to go for the paper design. Our paper design will be ready, and by starting from the paper design, we have to go until the circuit layout, and also we have to identify the physical locations also on the circuit on paper, and later we have to go for the PCB designs. And this is the simple sequence of steps in conventional electronic circuit designs. Okay, this is the flow chart. Okay, we will end the class today. See you in the next class.